Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar around reconnecting for smart and sustainable mobility, and of course about the ITS European Congress that is coming up in Toulouse. My name is Lisa Bock-Andersen. I am the Congress Director and also the Director of Communications for ERTICO ITS Europe. I'm delighted to be your host today for this webinar. Now, before I go to the agenda, let me just introduce the webinar in a broader setting. So this is the first webinar in a series of 5 that will take us on the journey to the actual Congress end of May. And you see here the close to final dates for the upcoming webinars. You will also see that in the coming webinars, we will be focusing more specifically on some of the topics that are key to the Congress. So let us move to the agenda. In a moment, Joost van Tom, our new CEO of ERTICO, will give his welcome and talk a little bit about ERTICO. I will give an update around the Congress itself. Then Jean-Claude Dardelet, who is Vice President for Toulouse Métropole, and also importantly our partner and host for the Congress, will give an introduction as to what we can expect from Toulouse and why Toulouse indeed is a very, very relevant city to host such a Congress in. Then we have Joanna Sanidaki, who is my colleague, who is also the Director of Innovation and Deployment at ERTICO, who will talk a little bit more about the technical program side. And last but definitely not least, we will have Bruno Kiev, who is Product Manager at Continental Automotive France, and he will give a very interesting description around their work in Key as a Service. Before I hand over to Joost, just a couple of house rules. For those of you who have joined us before, you know that all attendees are in listen-only mode, but you're more than welcome to ask questions in the Q&A tool that is part of the GoToMeeting. You're very welcome to ask them as we move along in the program. There will be a Q&A session at the end. Also, we will be recording the webinar and we will share it through our various channels. With that, let us begin. Joost van Tomme, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Lisa. I hope you hear me well. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of ITS and dear friends of Smart Mobility, and obviously friends of Toulouse and our Congress. It's a great honor for me to start the series of webinars that Lisa nicely introduced to you with our team. This series of webinars is capital important. We're gonna explain and give you in a nutshell, in a snapshot, what is ERTICO, what is the ITS Congress, where is Toulouse and what is Toulouse and how are we cooperating with each other. And secondly, also deep dive a bit into such a great Congress, what it is, how it works, who will you meet, and so on. Most of you have still the memory of the background of the Hamburg Congress, the most recent one, a big success, more than 13,000 people live there for the whole week. And I'm sure that this one will be as important, that's one, and as successful as the previous European Congress then. In a nutshell, maybe, what is ERTICO? You see the banner behind me. It's about innovation, it's about tomorrow, and it's about a journey in various modes of transport. It can be with a car, with individual transport. It can be a car sharing, a ride sharing. It can be with the bus, with the train, with the tram, with the bus. It can also be by aviation or by the boat, the ship. So we represent actually all the transport modes, including rail. Of course, I forgot to mention our friends of the rail sector. So this is actually in the heart of our business, on our DNA. It's a public-private partnership with 8 sectors that we represent. We have many members on companies and institutions of these sectors, notably traffic and transport industry, service providers to vehicle manufacturers and to road infrastructure. We obviously have the research sector, so people are actually using their brains and putting smart mobility high on their agenda. What should be done to realize something within, for example, 5 years? If we talk smart mobility, we talk about connectivity and automation. Connectivity is vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, infrastructure to all kinds of transport modes, rail to infrastructure, etc. So that's why our partners of the IT and the telecommunications or the electronic communications sector are of capital importance, next to those who are doing the data handling, the provisioning of data, the hosting of data, and I would say the cloud services and the mobility data spaces that we host with ERTICO. Also vehicle manufacturers, I shouldn't forget our friends of the OEMs, they're of capital importance because they drive you, not only people, it's about driving people, driving goods, and tomorrow and today, driving data. Now, a big chunk of companies are also suppliers, very important. We have Continental here as a major supplier in this session, so happy to listen to that great speech on innovation with Continental. And obviously public authorities. It's not only about the private industry, about the research sector, but definitely about the public side of the equation. You see a traffic light on the screen, but that represents actually the public sector in its glory, I would say, in terms of traffic management in this case and traffic efficiency. Public authorities can be ministries, it can be regions, it can be cities, very local, it can be provinces, etc. So we have all that kind of people in our ecosystem. And finally, the user. What should we do without the customer, without the client, without the user? And that's actually the whole ecosystem which we represent. So our main focus is on smart mobility, on clean mobility, on urban mobility, and transport logistics. These are, by coincidence, it's not a coincidence, these are the programs also that are being shaped and I would say rolled out by the European institutions. We see similar things happening overseas with our friends of ITS America, Asia Pacific, but Europe has really made landmark, I would say, relevance in terms of smart mobility. If you read the latest winter package, I would say, of Mrs. Valian, so the European Commissioner for Transport, and the whole sustainable and smart mobility, I would say, approach, you will recognize these 4 pillars. They're of capital importance, and each of these pillars represent people, industry, public authorities, and our team in ERTICO. What we do, you will see on the next slide, it's giving added value to our partners, our, I would say, members of ERTICO. We have more than 110 members, and every week they are growing because we connect the dots. We connect these partners with each other. It can be small partners, can be big partners, can be startups. So this ecosystem is feeding itself through ERTICO. We bring in innovation. One of them can be short-range communication, can be long-range cellular communication. We already think about 6G for traffic transport and moving of goods and people. But it can also be research. We are part of the ACCM partnership. We are part of many other partnerships in Europe with the European Commission. And we believe that together we can make this journey even better than individual. So it's not about silos, it's much more about cooperation amongst the transport modes and amongst all these companies in our ecosystem. We build links to these communities with webinars, with thought leadership, with advocacy, but definitely with one major thing, it's about projects. We are receiving quite some funding from the European Union through funding programs that we enter proposals, go for a bid, and in a lot of cases we are very successful thanks to this cooperation. And we are able then to pilot, to deploy, to demonstrate, I would say, research and innovation live. This can be about connected, automated driving, but also about transport logistics, about 5G, about, I would say, e-dematerialization of documents and the like. Clean mobility is also very high on our agenda of the Green Deal, obviously. Yeah. So it's actually watching the space, see what is innovation and how to make it happen in our landscape here. So it's a lot of knowledge here, and I'm very proud to become the CEO from this year. A very great team and great members. On our next slide, I'll guide you through the Congress cycle of ITS, Intelligent Transportation Systems. We are actually the anchor. So the headline of ERTICO is not only about projects, thought leadership, stakeholder management, but definitely about having the uniqueness of being organizer of these great congresses. The Congress is an opportunity to meet, to greet, to sense, to feel the landscape of mobility. What does it make for you? It's an opportunity to listen to various technical conferences. We have more than 100 sessions. My colleagues will guide you through that. It's also linking the dots with the industry and the public side of the equation, public authorities, governmental policies, and so on. But also it's focused on Europe, and that's the uniqueness of this Congress. It's a European Congress, not a worldwide Congress. That means that we will scale it to the European approach of smart mobility and the like. So I would say come over to Toulouse. We will explain you how it works, who will be there, and what kind of sessions we have, what will be the main topics. And the final slide, you will see then on, this is actually our motto and our tagline. We do it together with all of you, with the readers, with those who are listening and watching this space, and with the European institutions. So proud to lead that ship here and that boat, I would say, and very, very pleased to hand over now to my colleagues and back to Lisa for the next session. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Jos, for this great introduction, both to ERTICO and also to the Congress at large. I will now continue and go a little bit more in depth with the Congress itself. So as mentioned before, this Congress is taking place in Toulouse from the 30th of May to the 1st of June. So beautiful springtime. It will more precisely be in the Meet Congress Center, which is a relatively new Congress Center. Good news is that everything will be in one venue, whether it is the Congress itself or the exhibition or the outside activities. So we look very much forward to that. Going forward, I wanted to make it clear what are the 5 key pillars of the Congress for those who don't know ITS Congresses. It is a very comprehensive event. It has a high-level program that I will get into, but it also has a very, very important technical program with more than 100 sessions, as our CEO was just mentioning. It will feature a range of demonstrations and also a range of technical visits organized by the host. And there will be an exhibition where, as Jos says, you can feel and sense and smell, I was going to say, but maybe not, the various business innovations in our field. But on top of that, we also have other key elements I wanted to highlight. We have the ITS Summit, which brings together public and elected officials from across Europe, importantly with industry leaders. And it is really an opportunity for a couple of hours to sit down and discuss face-to-face amongst these 2 very important parties. We also have a startup hub I'll come back to later. We have a public day, which is normally very popular with the local population, in this case from Toulouse. And we also have the famous ITS dinner, where everybody, hundreds of people, have the opportunity to meet. And indeed, here you see the overall program. What is important is to underline that this program has full 3 days. So we look forward to greeting you on Sunday so that you are ready for Monday morning. It really runs from Monday morning till the end of Wednesday. We have 4 plenary sessions that are key for the high-level program. You can see in green. We have the ITS Summit that I mentioned before on the Monday. We have the technical program running through, and you see that here all the specialist sessions that run on simultaneous tracks throughout the Congress. We have the public day on the Wednesday, and we also have a social program, as I mentioned, the ITS dinner, or the gala dinner as it is also called, on the Tuesday, as well as a VIP dinner on the Monday. The Congress topics. So the overarching umbrella is smart and sustainable mobility for all. And underneath that, we have the 5 top topics that you can see here: services for citizens, next generation solutions, green and sustainable mobility, deployment from large-scale trials up to the point of deployment, and cities as a logistics hub. These themes will cut across both the high-level program but also the technical program, whether we're talking about the special interest sessions or technical and research papers. We have here noted down the plenary sessions that you saw before. They will have high-level speakers from across the industry and from across the European region. And they attract a very strong audience. As a matter of fact, the plenary sessions, they don't conflict with any other session, so we really look forward to welcoming you there. And as you can see, their scope is broad, but at the same time very specific to the topic at hand. Coming back to startups, we will have a designated area in the exhibition hall for startups. We call it the Startup Hub. And as you can see here, there's just below 25 booths available. But that is not all. We also have a ERTICO startup program at the Congress, where there is the opportunity to pitch, just like those who joined us in Hamburg or other previous Congresses know. There will be awards. One of the awards is participation in future Congresses. We will have the award ceremony taking place Tuesday afternoon. And as the slide suggests here, there will be 1 overall startup award and 3 ERTICO awards, 1 on best technology, 1 on best product or best service, and 1 on best market introduction. So I invite the startups that are on the call to go on the website and have a look at the information, and I look forward to seeing you in Toulouse. In terms of exhibitors, the most important element to highlight here is the booking form and the floor plan. Go on the website, as I said before, and we've put a couple of the organizations that have already booked their stand to give you an idea sorry, of who's coming. And I believe we also have a little slide on sponsorship and commercial partnership, because there are some great opportunities there as well. They go across thought leadership. I mentioned the plenaries already. You can, for instance, sponsor a seat at the plenary. There's also brand exposure opportunities and lead generation. The mobile app works very well here. We also, of course, goes without saying, have various networking and building community opportunities. Again, we have noted down here the website link so that you can have a look for yourself and perhaps contact our sales manager, Jerome Buchanan. A timeline here at the end. We have call for contributions for the technical program in terms of special interest sessions, etc., that closed end of January, but you may already have heard that we're keeping the portal open to finalize and make the last edits until 7th of February. Very excitingly, we're opening registrations mid-February, so it's around the corner. And you may want to note that there is the early bird registration deadline lasting until the 19th of April. The app I mentioned before, we aim to have that ready a little months before the Congress, so early May. And of course, the Congress opens its doors on the 30th of May. I believe that was nearly the end. There is one last slide here, and that is an important slide. Please stay up to date with us. As I said, there will be other webinars, but you can also look at the website or on our social channels, and you can subscribe to the newsletter that comes out a couple of times a month. So there is a couple of different ways for you to be kept up to date. So this was my quick bird's eye view on the Congress as a whole. I would now like to introduce Jean-Claude Adelaide again and hand over the floor. Of course, Jean-Claude will talk about Toulouse, our wonderful host city. Please, Jean-Claude, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you very much, Jost, for these interesting speeches. So good afternoon, everybody. Good morning or good evening. So yes, I would like now to tell a few words about Toulouse. I would say your next place to be if you want to know everything and learn everything on transport and mobility, everything on innovation and new services, everything on new technologies and major challenges, all those challenges that we all have to face, I would say more than ever before, after these 2 important years of upheavals. If the changes actually that we have in front of us are not really new, I think that we can all agree that they are dramatically accelerating. So let me now tell you a few words on how us in Toulouse, we do tackle all those challenges, namely the very European Green Deal, digital age, and resilience, and for us, resilience of our cities, which could be summarized for me as a deputy mayor and vice president of Toulouse Metropolis on a special attention that we give to the quality of life of our citizens, on the outstanding and smart services that we want to deliver to them all, and of course to the sustained economy and job based on talents and excellencies, which will be my major subject in this presentation, because all the makers, the game changers, actually, without modesty, I would say they are in Toulouse. So indeed, in Toulouse, you will find what we call here the magic triangle, which is the excellencies in academies, excellencies in research centers, and excellencies in industries, construction, and development of new solutions. You will also find in Toulouse the most important investment plan in transport, more than 4 billion euro in the next 10 years, so starting 2020 until 2030. So 4 billion euro to be spent on several subjects that I will mention in a few moments. Staying on the former slides, sorry. So an urban area of 1.3 million inhabitants. So 1/4 of the population is a student, our students, so which is very meaningful when you want to enter in the new world, I would say. 70% are not Toulouse native, so it's a very international city actually. By far the most important demographic growth, amongst the largest demographic growth in Europe. You know, people are coming, are investing in Toulouse. This is important. It's every year in the last 10 or 15 years, it has been the preferred cities for the students, for the families, for the researchers, for the investors, for the industries of all kinds. And even during the most difficult time of the COVID crisis, we continue to welcome new companies and new jobs that have been created during that time. I just want to mention more than 1,001 jobs created last year during the most difficult time period. So if Toulouse is known for aviation and space, it's also known for artificial intelligence, transport, health, agri, biotech, you name them, but also we have a Nobel Prize in economy, a Nobel Prize in chemistry, you know, so there are quite a lot of domain of excellence, of excellencies in the Pink City. So next slide, please. So here I would like to jump on transport, actually, just to show you the wide variety of domains that we do cover in transport. If you see the blue line at the bottom of the slide, this is I would say ground zero. This is the ground, and you see that below the ground we have metro lines with important actors, so Continental, Siemens, of course, and you know, quite a few actors. On Earth, so on cars, we have, you know, Actia and Renault and quite important actors with automatic vehicles. Also new metro lines, which will double the number of kilometers of metro line in Toulouse from 30 to 60 kilometers of metro line, a high-speed train, but also drones. We have quite a lot of, and this is the history, the background of Toulouse in aviation. Just remember that civil aviation was born actually in Toulouse 104 years ago exactly. It was in 1918 that civil aviation was born in Toulouse with the famous Aéropostale. You know, Aéropostale is not only the name of a t-shirt, it's also the name of an unbelievable story that started in Toulouse. So drones, above drones you see the airplanes with new hydrogen airplanes. Above them you see launch vehicles, Ariane, the most heavy part of the launch vehicles is made in Toulouse. Satellite, you know, Galileo, the satellite navigation system has been developed, invented in Toulouse actually. And we even drive a vehicle on Mars. You know, we do drive missions in Mars every 2 weeks from Toulouse, where people has even not stepped, by the way. And you see below the line, the blue line, you even see boats, vessels, where we have here, we do manage one of the 6 services of the Copernicus European program called Mercator Ocean, where also we do manage transport of vessels, submarines, etc. So next slides, please. So having said that, this slide is just to show you a part of all the figures involved in transport, be there in industries, research centers, or academies. I don't want to detail them all, but most of them will, of course, be exhibiting at ITS and also make presentation of what they do best here in Toulouse. You see also the widespread spectrum of international partners working in Toulouse. Next slide, please. So here is also to give you 1 or 2 figures of what transport means here. To recall the 4 billion euro that we do invest in transport, but also give you 1 or 2 important figures. You know, transport in Toulouse is 4 million individual displacements daily. So whether you go to work and come back, it's 2 displacements and etc. So 4 million displacements daily. And in the last 10 years, we have observed 500,000 daily displacements coming. And in the next 10 years, we do expect another 500,000 displacements, you know, coming in the next. So it will be, we will reach 4 million daily displacements in the near future, which means more than 1,000 new vehicles every month on our road infrastructures. In Toulouse, we have also invested. It will be inaugurated in 3 months exactly, next May. The very first urban cable, so integrated within the public transport. So it's quite an innovative investment of about 100 million euros invested in this transport mode. We also have the first largest bike services with about 300 stations in Toulouse. And so you will certainly not discover or confirm that innovation. You know, Toulouse is about innovation on digital solutions and climate-friendly solutions, and all those challenges that we have in front of us. Next slide, please. So now we have during ITS, all our partners will demonstrate what they do best on the ITS MEET, MEET Congress Hall. So they will exhibit and demonstrate what they do best. So on autonomous vehicles, so easy miles, Income Tech, etc. On ADAS or driving assistance with our friends from Continental. Orange, so the telecom operator, will also demonstrate and show interesting solutions, managing traffics. Drones is very important in Toulouse, not only because we have the capacity to build new drones, be they small, medium, or large drones, becoming taxi to transport people in the near future. So it's a big challenge, you know, on how to drive drones in an urban area. So today, by the way, we also drive a drone on the planet Mars. So it's not only a rover. There is since a year ago now, there is a drone now on Mars. So a lot of demonstration sites and technical visits. So all our major industries, so Actia, Easy Miles, or TCO, etc., will of course welcome you all to interesting visits. We also have what we call the B612. I don't know if B612 rings a bell to you. B612 is the famous asteroid of the Little Prince from Saint-Exupéry. So we have this outstanding building where innovation building where a lot of things are being developed here with quite knowledgeable companies here. We called it of the name of this famous asteroid. So B612 is not an administrative name, is a very poetic name. So quite a few technical visits on which you are also welcome. Next slide, please. And it was my last slide, so I would like to thank you for your attention, and of course ready to answer all your questions. And welcome to Toulouse.
Thank you very much, Jean-Claude. Indeed, it is quite amazing the breadth and depth of all the mobility activities that are taking place in Toulouse. So it is, as I said before, the perfect choice for a host city. Now we will go to our next speaker. As I said, my colleague, Joanna, who is Director of R&D at ERTICO. And we will now move a little bit to the technical program because Joanna will talk a little bit about the priorities at ERTICO and some of the elements that will be shown in some of the sessions there. Joanna, I hand over to you, please.
I am going to talk about that, Lisa. Thank you. But before I start my presentation, I wanted to say that I'm very excited, especially how Jean-Claude is describing Toulouse and this magic triangle, as he called it, with academy, industry, and how the public authority through funding and more facilitates this innovation in the city. And because he was mentioning drones and how important they are for Toulouse, I wanted to add that they are important in the ERTICO work as well. My plan is to give you a flavor of the some of the special interest sessions that we are facilitating at the Congress, which are only 10 out of the 100 that Lisa was mentioning as part of the technical program. Or the pillar, one of the 5 pillars in the Congress. And I wanted to say that we are working on drones. The team in ERTICO has contributed indeed to the SAMP on urban air mobility that recently came out, and we will be holding a special interest session and supporting some demonstrations there. So high expectations and it's a perfect fit for in this collaboration between ERTICO and Toulouse for innovation and deployment at the Congress. So let me start with my slides. I hope you can see them on the screen that I'm sharing. I wanted to start by making the link already with the topics at the Congress in Toulouse, the 5 topics that were mentioned already by the colleagues that spoke before, and the focus areas, as we call them in ERTICO, on each of which ERTICO, the ERTICO partnership of 110 approximately members, has defined and agreed roadmaps. So you see here, I know it's very small, but connected automated driving, clean mobility, or as we call it, clean and eco mobility, urban mobility, and transport and logistics. And what we do, all the activities that we run at the Innovation and Deployment Department or team that I have the honor to support, are sorry, leading to the final or to the milestones that we see in the roadmaps and to the final goal there. So of course, it goes without saying that all the activities in ERTICO and the ERTICO partnership, they serve the mission as Joost was referring to it, of the smart, clean, efficient, and safe mobility. So just to start with one of the special interest sessions that we are bringing forward, and on the top right of the slides, you see already the topic under which these sessions are. So the topic is services for citizens, and one of the special interest sessions is going to be discussing this data exchange for interoperable mobility services in Europe. And you see there already TISA, TM 2.0, Sensoris, TNITS Go, Mass Alliance. For those that are not familiar with these are innovation platforms under the ERTICO umbrella, and they are working on different parts on this on the data exchange, data protocols, traffic communication protocols in TISA. A concept on interactive traffic management is the focus of TM 2.0. Sensoris is all about this uptake on sensor data from the vehicle. TNITS Go is a platform that is working on the standard, on the freshening, on the fresher maps on static data from public authorities, and Mass Alliance is, of course, all about mobility as a service. So this session is going to be discussing this need of which data should be exchanged and which action should be taken in short, medium, and long term to cover this need. Another a special interest session, again under the topic of services for citizens, is the mobility network management. And you see a win for all. This stems from the discussion that we're having under the platform of TM 2.0 and the Mass Alliance on the need that there should always be a win for the stakeholders that are participating in a collaboration, and when these stakeholders are competitors, but still collaborate on the commonly agreed targets as these are set by the public authorities in dialogue with them, we call it competition. So competition and trust are going to be discussed in this session. Of course, not only between the two platforms that you see on the slide, but more actors and stakeholders are going to be participating in the session. And these sessions that we are, as ERTICO, we are going to be facilitating, we are trying to make them interactive. So we don't want the audience to just sit and listen to a number of speeches one after the other, but really share the discussion and the thinking in the process. So this is all about the multimodality and the mobility network management. And I think that is the last one under the topic of services for citizens. Another session that I wanted to bring forward to you in this webinar is the presentation of the work that we have done in the ERTICO partnership to understand better the needs and the policies of cities around the globe on topics such as mobility as a service, traffic management, sustainability, data exchange, and see what this 100 out of the 300, which is our goal, what these 150 cities interviewed already have said, what are the trends, and how the next phase of this survey, because we are kicking off phase 2, as you see on the slide, what kind of questions and topics are going to be added in this survey, in this questionnaire. So that is, again, a very interesting special interest session that I'm inviting you to come and join. And let me pass to another topic now, the green and sustainable mobility. Again, these are the topics of the Congress. So we're posing the question, how can technological solutions for green driving contribute to urban clean air policies? And that is exactly the topic that's going to be discussed at the session. So we are bringing in the work that we are doing in Modales, which is an ethical-led project, but also parallel other projects, I mean, that are looking into this, and also the perspectives of the cities on green driving, eco driving, the driving behavior of the behavior of the driver, and how to adapt it in order to support these low emissions mobility targets that we are setting and working on. So I think I have another one on the green and sustainable mobility, and that is the session that talks about, or that looks into the perfect pitch on starting up a global clean mobility. So you see on the left-hand side, the Solutions Plus is the project that ERTICO the ERTICO partnership is involved, and you see all the partners on the bottom right hand side of the slide. And what is interesting in that special intercession is that it's going to be like, how can I say, a role play, like an exercise. So you see the audience will play the role of the venture capitalists, and the startups are going to be pitching on the topic of clean mobility, sustainable electrification, and discussing how they contribute with a very short pitch. But it is really this interactive element that we want to bring based on the results that the project is showing already, running on the different spots on the map that you see on the bottom left-hand side. So it's not, we are in the European Congress, but it's not necessarily everything about Europe. It is about the globe. It is about how we cooperate with other parts of the world and how we harmonize our approach that should be also looked in, or the focus of our discussions. Then passing to the next topic of the Congress themes, it's the 5G technologies for verticals, and this is under the topic of next generation solutions. You see here two projects mentioned, but it is not the only projects that are bringing forward the results of their work in this discussion. We have also other projects like 5G Mobix and Show, and the whole discussion is all about the new concepts and how these can apply to services, and how 5G technologies, IoT, data analytics, or data analysis can support these services. 5G technologies special interest sessions are always very popular at our Congress, and this is only one of these special interest sessions that you are going to find on the program. But just as I said, we wanted to give you a flavor of what we are doing. Another special interest session now under the topic of large-scale trials to deployment is the demonstration of automated mobility, sharing experiences over continents. And this is where the results and the work that we are doing in the ERTICO partnership as part of the SHOW project comes in. As you see, it is a fairly large project with many pilots. We are talking about 70 partners with demonstrations, not only in Europe, but also in Japan and the US, and an exchange of learnings with regards to technologies and citizens' perception in these regions. And this is precisely what this session is going to be discussing. A very interesting topic, because we are talking about public transport and automation, and public transport is considered to be one of the first, or the first use case of CCAM, of connected cooperative automated mobility. Now, under the same topic, we have another session on Arcade, and this is all about Arcade is a ethical-led project, of course, but it is all about building this knowledge base on CCAM pilots and deployment and projects around Europe, and discussing also the evaluation methodology, the common European common evaluation methodology, which is very much needed to be set as a harmonized approach for the large-scale demonstration of CCAM in Europe. So this is a discussion that is reoccurring in ERTICO, in the ITS congresses, and it is very interesting because this knowledge base, it's becoming, or it is already very, very important, and it is important that we are all aware how to use it and how to actually maintain it and feed into it, so that we have an understanding of what is happening in Europe with regards to large-scale trials and deployment of CCAM. Passing to I think the last one of my slides, this is all about, this is the final topic, of course, of the Congress, and it's cities as logistics hubs. And this is the discussion that comes as a result of our work in the Phoenix project, again, ERTICO-led, and where a large number of partners come from all over Europe, and discussing the ecosystem of data, the exchange, and the interoperability in the field of logistics, and how the data markets function when the stakeholders have access to a system that allows them to choose who is their partner and so on. I don't want to get into the details, but what I wanted to really point out is that this project, as all the others, they come as base topics in a series, or in a list of topics to be discussed at the European level, and upon that we build an exchange of results and views with colleagues and partners that come from other projects and other stakeholders and partners. So these are my attempt to give you a good flavor of what is happening in the technical program at the ITS Congress. And I hope I made it interesting, and that it really fits with what Toulouse is deploying in the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanna. It did not only show how the ERTICO focus areas are closely linked with the Congress topics, but I think it also gave a general good appetizer as to some of the topics that will be dealt with through your sessions, but also in general, some of the topics that will be dealt with throughout. We are staying in the technical side now, because I would like to introduce our last speaker. As I said before, Bruno, he works at Continental, and Continental is a very important partner for us, and also not only a partner of ERTICO, but also a partner in the specific Toulouse Congress. And Bruno will talk a little bit about key as a service. So this will be a little taste of some of the technical innovation that you can see at the Congress. Over to you, Bruno, please.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bruno. I'm a product manager at Continental Automotive in Toulouse, and I will present you today an overview on key as a service business use cases and technology. I will try not to make it too technical. It's a technical matter, but I will try my best not to do it really too technical. So next slide. No, this slide is okay. Okay, so first of all, before talking about keys, virtual keys and access, I wanted to give you one number. Continental is a strong leader in the access technology. We produce actually almost 40% of the market. It looks like a very simple device. A key is looks simple, but it's actually a very complex technology. And actually, a lot of those keys that you're using daily are produced in Toulouse. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about key as a service. Key as a service, in short, no, you went too fast, sorry. Rita, sorry. Thank you. So in short, key as a service, we have to see this as a platform. It involves cutting edge technologies like electronic, cloud and electronic. I don't know for which reason the slides are going. Please, Rita, come back to the first slide, please. Okay, thank you. So as I said, it involves cutting-edge technologies like electronics, cloud computing, cyber technology, cyber security for accessing and sharing vehicles. And the purpose of this is to make the life of cars, to make the life of car users easier and to serve current mobility trends that we can observe daily. It's very confusing to get the slides moving, sorry. This is not the right slide.
I think there is a little issue with the slides that are moving automatically.
It looks like. Okay, so please try to fix it and we'll continue the talking.
Rita, do you want to give access to Bruno, or?
I don't have access to it.
Okay, right. Rita, is it possible to go backwards?
Please.
Sorry, Bruno, could I give you access because your slides just seem to be moving automatically?
I don't know how to do this, but I'll try.
I can. Do you have your presentation open? Yes.
Okay, I don't know how to move forward, back. No, frankly, I don't know what to do it.
Yes, we see your screen. Could you open your presentation?
So you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, and now the slides are coming. Thank you so much, Bruno.
Okay. I have to change all this.
Thank you. We see it very clearly now.
Yeah, but I'd like to be in a presentation mode. Okay, so I will do it. I will manage. Sorry for this. Okay, so the key as a service is you have to see this as a platform, as I said, with cutting edge technologies, cloud computing, electronics, devices that you have to place in the car, and some cyber securities as well. The markets that we are targeting with this technology is actually 2 or 3 different market segments. New mobility and OEM retrofit, these are aftermarket businesses, and OEM line fit, this is series production. So let me detail this. New mobility is basically a market where commercial operators will propose to the users some services, some specific mobility services. While OEM retrofit will be a specific market with a specific relationship with the OEM, where we will build a custom-made solution specifically from one OEM with very dedicated services. And I will come back on those 2 separate market segments. OEM line fit is really about series production. So we are talking about millions of vehicles to be equipped, and this is actually handled by another group than mine. And for this presentation, I will only focus on the aftermarket. Okay, so I will, as I said, not be too technical. What we need to understand is what is the difference between a traditional key fob and a virtual key. When you have a traditional key fob, physical key fob, basically you have two of them, or let's say two, for a car, and it's a physical key. If you want to share your vehicles, basically you have to give your physical key to someone else, and this someone else will do something with your car. You have no control on this. Besides this, on your key fob, you have functions like open the trunk, lock, unlock, start engine, and you cannot separate those functions. So you give all the access, all the functions to this user. And last, if you lose the key, you're gonna have to replace it, and it comes with a high cost when you go to the dealership. So what we want with key as a service or virtual keys is to improve this user experience. And what we will do with this technology is to allow multiple sharing. We can create as many sharing we want. We can have a series of people accessing your vehicles with very selected sharing functions. To give you two examples, we can restrict and give access only to the trunk, for instance, for package delivery. So the user will be allowed to put the package in the car, but not be allowed to start the engine and leave ultimately with the car. You can also program the time you want to give the sharing. You can give a sharing for an hour, for 2 hours, for a day, and everything is controlled and programmed by the virtual key. And the virtual key is managed and programmed in the cloud. Last, but this is also very important, we can give very, how should I phrase this, versatile access to the car using new digital technologies like smartphones, this is very obvious, smartwatch, or NFC cards that we can place a reader on the windshield, for instance. And with those means, the user will be allowed to access the car without any physical key. Of course, all this works because we have a cloud and that manage very securely virtual keys, but also we have to place a device, a piece of hardware into the vehicle. Okay, so I will be quick on this and not too technical. We basically have two approaches. One is to provide with access only and start vehicles. This is what we call RCK, remote cloud key. And this device actually is based on real OEM key protocol. So we have to see this as a real key on which we add Bluetooth communication and very secure encryption for the virtual keys. And this device is currently developed for a bunch of programs and works with certain models and certain brands for now, certain car brands for now. We have another technology called ACCM, Access and Connected Car Modules, which allows the access and also allow vehicle data upload. And this is very useful for fleet management, of course. Technology is a bit different. In this case, we will take the spare key, we will take off the electronic of this spare key and place it in the ACCM. It's like having a remote control on the top of a regular key. And it offers the same function for access and start vehicles, but as I said, it offers as well data upload, and we will make it possible to get telematics data sets like fuel level, like DCT codes, battery level, mileage, and so forth. And this will be, of course, used for fleet management. On the top of this, we have also GPS and gyroscope and a bunch of sensors. The ACCM Plus is actually the best of both worlds. It combines RCK technology and a CCM. We don't use a spare key, we use the RCK PCB instead, the RCK PCB instead. So let's see now what we can do with this technology. So as I said, a device that you place in the key in the vehicle, a cloud, and means of interaction with the key. So as I said, for the aftermarket, we have this new mobility market segment. In this case, the customer will buy from us the hardware, mainly the ACCM, and we will provide him with mobile SDK and API to program their own end-to-end solutions. So what type of use case we can handle with? Peer-to-peer, it's basically people who wants to share their vehicles to other person for weekend, for instance, when they don't use it. You have also, of course, car sharing operators. This is a type of service where you can pick a car for a couple of hours in the city to do something and bring back the vehicles. Of course, you have taxi and ride hailing. I don't need to describe this. Rental car as well, short time or long time rental car. And we have also mobility service providers. They will develop mainly end-to-end solution in white label for the other operators. So a platform will be basically a complete commercial solution that handles timing, reservation, booking, geolocalization, geofencing, and of course, payment. But all this in this new mobility business is done by our customer. We just provide the tools to do this. In this particular segment, we have up to 80 customers worldwide. I'm not allowed to disclose, the name of those customers, except a couple of them because we had press release on this. So I can name Avis, typically in the US, where we handle up to 30,000 vehicles, I believe, and Turo, who is a peer-to-peer actors as well in the US, but many more in Europe and actually also in Toulouse. So I cannot give you the names, but very often you use cars with this technology. So we are in operation for more than 4 years with this type of technology. Just to give you a number and to size the market, just on the last month of November, in December 2021, we generated 600,000 virtual keys on our clouds. So I'll let you do the maths with operation during since 4 years. The retrofit OEM is also an aftermarket segment, and in this particular situation, we provide with a complete end-to-end solution, including the front end, the mobile application for the end users. The typical use case that we serve with this solution is what we call family and friends car sharing. And the idea is for a car owner to let someone else, a friend or someone from his family, to access his vehicle without any third parties. There is no commercial involved in this case. The solution is installed by an OEM. In this case, this is an implementation that we do or we did for Nissan and Infiniti in the US. And someone can, as a car owner, I can decide to give the vehicle, given access to the vehicle for a friend of mine or for my wife for a certain amount of time, or I can also use this solution for one-time vehicle services or for package delivery, for instance, because I want, I don't know, Amazon or someone to put a package in my trunk while I'm working. So this technology is actually developed for Nissan and Infiniti. This has been press released last year in the US, and we are currently developing this technology for other OEMs in Europe and in Asia, and this will hit the market hopefully in 2022. Okay, so this is basically the overview I wanted to give you on this technology. Of course, you will have a chance to see demonstrations, live demonstration during ITS Congress. Okay, so I guess we're ready now for a Q&A session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Bruno. It sounds super interesting, and I can see many opportunities. The last family and friends car sharing is probably very popular these days. So we have 10 minutes to go to do our Q&A. So a couple of questions. I would like to start or go back to Joost, please. You talked a little bit about connecting the dots, and we can see, for instance, with our membership, how we indeed connect the dots, not the dots, to the dots in this vast ecosystem. Can you give an example with respect to this connecting the dots when it comes to the Congress, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lisa. It's indeed all about this ecosystem of having multiple parties, public, private, but also multiple solutions and innovations. Smart mobility is not about old-fashioned transport. It is actually very sexy and very innovative. That's one of the growing sectors actually in Europe, what we see. On the Congress, you will, besides the technical presentations and the special interest session that my colleague Johanna has put out here, you will really see, I would say, examples of cloud-based services, of automated driving. How does a vehicle connect the dot with the HD map, for example, through connectivity? How does a vehicle connect to the city or to the road authority for data sharing on safety-related traffic, for example? How, for example, another one is logistics, where we connect harbors with container traffic operators, with truck manufacturers, and the whole ecosystem behind the port, I would say. Well, you need some smart engineering behind this, and it's about efficiency of vehicles, of moving goods, and of course of communication networks to get these goods into the harbor and further on. But you will all see that live in Toulouse.
Okay, thank you very much. I also have a question for Jean-Claude. Jean-Claude, we heard that there are indeed many smart solutions for passengers in Toulouse, and you mentioned quite a few of them. In terms of goods mobility now, Joost mentioned goods. What are one of the city's biggest challenges, and what are some of the solutions you would want to highlight?
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Good question. You know, Toulouse is a city that was built in the Middle Age. It has never been bombed. So we have little winding roads, which are very charming, very interesting. I think we have the European largest open air mall. It's a big shopping area. You know, Toulouse is very attractive on many subjects. Also the food, you mentioned it before. And delivering all the goods, you know, the logistics inside the city is a challenge. Also, the booming demography also means, you know, new challenges to tackle in the most virtuous, climate-friendly, you know, data services, connecting the dots, as you mentioned. So this is the challenge, one of the challenges that we have in front of us. So drones is a solution, you know, through the Garonne River, you know, to use it as some kind of a highway to connect, you know, delivery points also. So we're working on several subjects on that matter. Also on, you know, several solutions for logistics centers on how to deliver using public transport means or the canals to deliver all these items. So that's you know, a very important subject that we work, and this is not new, but this is increasingly becoming important. Something that we work more and more closely with the citizen, you know, involving all the actors of the cities, be they citizen, association, industrial partners, all of them, it's becoming more and more important. So we are entering some kind of collaborative governance, which has been launched, by the way, thanks to the European contract called Commute. The European Union has provided us with a contract to experiment something that has shown very successful, actually.
Okay, very interesting. Maybe I'd like to link a little bit. You talk about challenges, in cities, and there are different, of course, from city to city. Joanna, in terms of City Moonshot, which is precisely about the needs and the requirements, I know you're only in the first phase, but could you mention perhaps one surprising trend that came out so far that you identify as well unexpected and perhaps quite common among several cities?
Surprising. Well, what was surprising is that not all the cities that we interviewed were taking action on the climate emergency. That was surprising for me personally and many people in the team, because climate emergency is so important and sustainability as a topic is so hot, not only because of the Green Deal, but because of the urgency that we are all under to take action, not the transport, but everyone, each of us. So some cities hadn't declared climate emergency, and some cities were not planning to, and that was surprising.
That is surprising.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just want to switch gear and come back to Bruno. Bruno, you had some quite impressive figures that you were mentioning, 40% market share, etc. And the large amount of keys that you had delivered in the last month of the last year. So, what are the strengths of your CAS approach? Can you give a couple of thoughts on that?
Yeah, we have to see this as a transition, as a shift. So far, Continental was doing basically keys, access technology, and we are moving now, taking advantage of this technology, and we master this type of technology, obviously, and it makes us possible to move now forward to the service and to the servitization of the access. So we are not talking anymore about a piece of hardware. We are talking about a service attached to this technology. So we really we moved from one device type of business to a platform type of business. And it means that all our components are compatible between them, meaning that a user can start with a piece of hardware, change it because he wants to scale up, for instance, and it will be a very smooth change for him because everything is included in the platform. So it's a very big change for Continental, and we believe that we cover a large scope of services, from commercial fleet management to personal usage, and there are probably many more usage that we can also implement.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, you mentioned before that data is stored in the cloud, and that always brings up questions around whether there is a sort of acceptance question by some people sharing their data. Not that these may be the most sensitive data that one could share, but do you see that trend at all?
Yeah, actually, as I said, we are in the transition phase, and actually all this virtualization of keys is getting standardized currently by one consortium called CCC, Connected Car Consortium, in which you find most of the OEMs, most of the tier one, you find Apple, you find Samsung as well. So there is this willingness to provide with a very standardized way of doing virtualization of keys. taking advantage of new technology as well on smartphones like ultra wideband, to make basically the access to vehicle safer. And for us at Continental, we see it as a huge opportunity, of course, for the series production. This is very obvious, but also for aftermarket, because people having cars with the previous technology will be willing to get this, will be willing to use this new technology, taking advantage of new phones. So the CCC for us is a fantastic opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Bruno. We are 1:15. Maybe, Joanna, you can answer in 30 seconds a question that comes up very often. What makes an interesting technical session at the Congress? I think you would be perfectly placed to answer that question in a 30-second shot before we close down.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Thank you, Lisa. So a successful special interest session is the one that captures the attention of people. So the topic has to be, sorry, hot. It has to make sure that it's not, as I said when I was presenting the special interest sessions that ERTICO is bringing in, it shouldn't be a series of PowerPoints, because that's PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint, as we call it. It should be a dialogue and an exchange of ideas, information. That's why we're going for a more interactive panel usually. And
Okay.
it is, yeah, okay, these are the few elements. Yeah, interaction.
Excellent. Interaction is the way forward. Well, I, for one, certainly look forward to real physical interaction when we can meet each other face to face in Toulouse. So I take this opportunity to thank our speakers. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Claude. Thank you also, Joost and Johanna. And of course, thank you to the participants. And also a great thank you to my colleague Rita for organizing this for us. So, talk to you in a couple of weeks when we have the next webinar. And in the meantime, have a look at the website and get informed. Thank you very much for now.
Thank you.